Hey, folks, broadcasting from you know where, Ponte Vedra Beach, in our all-around room here at the club. I'll tell you, they always throw what I would call a curveball at you when you have a day. And because of that, you're always wondering, what does it mean? I don't think it means a whole lot because the day's Monday. Everybody's heard my warnings about Monday. This is a typical Monday. Your dreams melt right in front of you, right? When you see the overnight action. We had a great night in our Futures First last night. Now we got to be patient, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Today's our focus is going to be on the 24-hour market and Mondays. And I think Jonathan's got a whole bunch to go. I would tell you, hands off the mouse, at least until this afternoon. We got Genesis coming up. We'll see where it takes us, but I'm in no hurry to trade in this kind of market. Let's let it develop for us. Any questions before we turn over to Jonathan? Okay, Jonathan, it's all yours.
Okay, Tom, thanks. And sure miss being down there. I know you and Chuck are gonna have a good time with everybody.
Oh,
That's
let me tell you, we went through futures, you know, why does a certain letter mean futures, right? We went through that. That was a really fun journey this morning.
awesome.
All right.
Are you in the downstairs room with the
Yeah,
TVs
we're
on?
in the downstairs room and Chuck's got things cooking and he's doing a great job. So we're just having a good time.
All
Back
right,
at
good
you,
deal.
Jonathan.
Thank you. All right, there's risk involved in trading. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Everybody knows that. This is when Tom normally gives his opinion on the market, and he just did that a moment ago. But just as a reminder, his pivot today, his pivot number on the S&P futures is 68.85. 68.85 on the S&P futures is the pivot today. We're currently trading at 68.55. Been down to a low this morning around 48 or so. 55 is the current price. 68.85 is Tom's pivot. So we're trading on Mondays, just like you said. Keep your hands off the mouse. We'll see how the week starts to unfold. Now I'm going to take a moment here to talk about the T-Buzz weekly trade letter. This is released every Monday after the close. It's a pretty detailed report that we give you on the broad market update. Some words from Tom on the broad market update. We give the key news for the week to watch. Of course, we have the Fed this week on Wednesday. We give you your earnings for the week. A little bit light on the earnings right now, but there's a few this week. A little bit later in the week, key earnings are included weekly Magic 5 stocks. Now, this is similar to Tom's Magic 5 he gives on a daily basis, but we go a little bit extra mile and give you triggers, targets, and stops on them. So, pretty neat little addition there. And then finally, Tom's special opportunity for the week. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post in here the sign up link. It's only $9.99 for the entire year. Yeah, it's only $9.99 for the entire year. All right, so I'm just going to post a link in here. Going to give you a moment to join if you want to join so you won't miss anything for the rest of the presentation. I'm going to go quiet for just a minute or two and come right back. But this is the T-Buzz weekly trade letter issued Mondays up to close. Today's edition will be released around 4:15-ish Eastern, I would expect. And that's go to dtexter.com/weekly. So we'll be right back. Let's see. Donna says if we sign up again, will our term length extend a year? Donna, I would think yes. I would think absolutely yes. Again, only $10 a year, $9.99, detachword.com/weekly. Go ahead and do that, Donna, if you want. We'll extend your subscription time. Absolutely. All right, let's move on. This is Train and Trade all throughout the month of December, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And if Tom issues any trades in Train and Trade, they are tracked in the T-Buzz Talk and Trade program. So be sure to get joined over at dtitrader.com/TNT. Think that the BOGO deal might still be on the table. I'm not sure, but go to dtitrader.com/TNT and I'll post a link into the chat. All right, so today's topic is on the 24-hour market and how to trade Mondays. How to trade Mondays. Contents of today, briefly explaining what the 24-hour market is, when the futures open, when stocks are open, what are reference bars, of course, 30-minute reference bars from the DTI method. And it says my top 5 insights there. Those are going to be Tom's top 5 insights. Of course, I got from him early this morning. So it's going to be a good session. You want to stay tuned. Talk about the 24-hour market trading on Mondays. So what is the 24-hour market? Well, I think by now the word is being spread. Tom was way ahead of the game. If you read his The Markets Never Sleep book, he was just so far ahead of the game. It was remarkable there. But we do trade a global market. And we can track that global market and mainly in the futures market. All right. But nowadays, it's going to be more and more with stocks because stocks are going to be trading 24 hours. And there's a few brokers already that offer it. I'm pretty sure Interactive Brokers is kind of like the leader, if you will, but Thinkorswim is coming on board as well. So keep that in mind in perhaps as soon as next year when it starts to go more mainstream. All right. Of course, after the stocks get up and running, eventually, we would hope that the options market would follow suit. So when do futures open and close? Well, that's changed over the years, but I think it's pretty standardized now and will continue this way, I would expect for a pretty good while. The 6 p.m. Eastern time is when the futures market opens. And so it opens up Sunday night for the week at 6 p.m. Eastern time is when you get your true weekly open on the futures market. They still count the stocks weekly open at 9:30 the next day, but for futures, the true open of the day, and then on Sunday nights, of course, for Monday's market, it would be the open of the week. It starts at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Futures will trade all the way up until 5 p.m. the next day. There's no halt anymore. There used to be a 15-minute halt at the end of the day, but they trade up 6 p.m. all the way to 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then they take a 1-hour break before they open up once again. All right, before they open up once again for the next day's trading. So futures open pretty much 24/7, but I guess it's 24/5, with of course a break on the weekends. So stocks, when the stocks open, well, the cash market opens up at 9:30. That hasn't changed, but the night open for stocks is at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And again, depends on your broker if you can trade stocks at night. Usually you have to change your order type to extended hours, where you normally change your from good till cancel or a day market order, a day order. You can at night you can change it to an extended hours market order. So or not market order, limit orders at night. So extended hour limit orders at night. You do have to do that, but the stocks open at night at 8 p.m. You gain a lot of insights watching the market at that time. And that'll be a big focus of our education at DTI as we get into next year. As we get into next year, Tom will have all sorts of insights about trading stocks at night. I say next year, whenever it becomes like, really mainstream is when we'll start to have lots and lots of education on that. Tom's already begun doing that across some of his programs. So if we're going to trade a 24-hour market, we have to have a framework to do so. And Tom's reference bars are critical for that. So what are reference bars? They're 30-minute bars during the 24-hour market. Now, we usually use 30-minute bars for everything at DTI. And the reference bars are just placed at key times during the day. I don't know if you can see this, the ink is a little bit smaller print, but I'll just read through it. Reference bar 1 is at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's when the futures open. And that's our guide for the Asia time frame. Asia doesn't open up until, a few hours after 6. But we use that reference bar 1 for our guide during that time frame. Let's see, where are we at? Before I get too far, someone asked me to share the slides. Let me just do that real quick. Let's see. So that's reference bar 1 at 6 p.m. Eastern time when the futures open. We use it for Asia. RB2 is placed at 4:30 Eastern time. Now that causes confusion sometimes. That's not when Europe opens. Europe opens a couple hours earlier than that, but reference bar at 4:30 Eastern time gets us past the news over in Europe. So that's our second reference bar. And by the way, on the charts that we show, RB1 is going to be blue and RB2 is going to be blue. We have blue and white reference bars on our charts, which I'll show you eventually. But RB1 and RB2 are both blue reference bar on our compass charts. Then we get to RBX, which is our first white reference bar. That occurs at 7 a.m. Eastern time. We have, Germany get back from lunch and whatnot, but we have historically when pre-market trading in the US has been thought to begin. So that's the importance of that time there. That's again a white reference bar on our roadmap compass charts. Of course, we have the cash open, RB3. That's another 30-minute reference bar. It's going to be another blue reference bar. So you'll notice the pattern here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 of our reference bars are all going to be blue on the charts. And X, Y, and Z are going to be white reference bars. One of the biggest insights that Tom has taught us over the last few years is the insight of Genesis. And that's at the European close time. European markets close down at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. And we call that 30-minute block from 11:30 to 12 Genesis because it's the first time all day that the U.S. stocks are kind of moving freely. The U.S. traders have a chance to move the markets where they want without outside influence from other markets around the world. So we call that Genesis because of that. That's RBY. Then we finish up the day, the trading day, with RB4. The afternoon trading starts at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. You'll hear Tom call that the California market sometimes. And then RBZ is the final 30-minute closing stretch. Any questions on these reference bar times? They are really critical to the DTI method. We have a DTI white paper I'll post that you can learn more about the reference bars. RB1, 2, 3, and 4 are all blue reference bars, and RBX, Y, and Z are all white reference bars, and that Y bar is the Genesis reference bar. What's really neat about the reference bars in our charts, let me show you the roadmap real quick. Our latest update, we've actually numbered the bars. Here you can see there's reference bar 1 last night when the futures market opened. Reference bar 2, another blue bar. There's your RBX, and here's your RB3. RB3 is generally going to be your largest 30-minute range for the US cash open. All right. I agree, Carol. But RB3 will be, where your normal range is. You can kind of see that with reference bars, you tend to get either a continuation of the trend or a reversal. And so what we're looking at here, we have RB3 that is moved down. It's going, went, to a new low of the day. We'll have lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. And we're coming into the Genesis hour, which starts at 11:30 Eastern time. All right, starts in 10 minutes. And there's a little insight here we'll cover in a moment that says the Genesis reference bar, the Genesis time frame marks the high or low of the day 4 out of 5 times. And so odds are most days that we'll trade back up on the Genesis bar. That'll start to form here soon. And if it doesn't start to retrace, it instead goes lower, then we'd have what we call a continuation move back down. So we'll cover that in a moment, but that's what we're looking for as we come into this Genesis hour time frame. Now it is Monday, and on Monday, especially Monday of Fed week, you're more likely to see that back and forth action, but a little extra to look for. So keeping our hands off the mouse for now. And let's go back to the presentation. Here's Tom's top 5 insights. This is probably the most important portion of today's session, today's training trade. Insight number 1, all of his futures education folks know this by heart. If trading at night, wait until after 9 p.m. Eastern time. So if you recall, all right, if you recall, we have our reference bar 1 at 6 p.m., but the Asian markets don't get up and going until a couple hours later. All right, we have depending on the time of year it is, we have 8 p.m. and 9:30 opens, or 7 p.m. and 8:30 opens. So wait until after 9 p.m. Eastern time is Tom's first insight for trading the 24-hour market. Notice how we're starting around the clock from the beginning. If you're trading at night, well, the future's open at night for the day. So that's your first opportunity to trade the 24-hour market. But wait until after 9 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, K-Brew, we're live on YouTube right now. You can check the recording on the YouTube channel. That's dtitrader.com/YouTube. I'll post the link into the chat. And you want to check on the live tab when you get over there, dtitrader.com/YouTube, and click on the live tab. While you're over there, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy these sessions and you enjoy checking out the YouTube channel. But it's dtitrader.com/YouTube, and go to the live tab. We're live right now. You'll see it there. And once we're done and finish up the session, you'll see the recording on the live tab. Insight number 2, if trading in the early morning hours, so this is, not at night, this is in the wee hours of the morning, if you will, maybe like 5, 6 a.m. in the morning, or off of RBX, which starts at 7 a.m. Make sure the current price exceeds the high-low range from the night prior. So if we go look at today's market, here's reference bar X right here. And let me just draw the line from overnight trading, okay? And it'll be a little bit more clear. Well, I didn't draw it exactly, but that's basically the high. And here's the low. Notice that in the early morning hours, I'll just circle those hours, we didn't break to a new high or new low, did we? But when reference bar 3 opened, it made a new low. So that points the direction lower. And then you're looking at our reference bar signals. Do we go lower than the reference bar or higher than the reference bar? You can see it made lower lows, triggering a short position. And then there's these pink lines right here, which we call the RB frame. That's the final insight we'll talk about today. But if it's below the frame, you're looking short. And if it's above the frame, you're looking long. All right, simplicity of that. Let's go back to the slides. It's 11:24. We're doing pretty good on time. Any questions so far? Insight number 3, the first real move for the US market comes 10 minutes after the first half hour. So I just showed you what the reference bar does, that big blue bar. That was the first 30 minutes. And then 10 minutes after, you can see we were below the reference bar. All right. And so that's the first real move. It happened. And just like Tom's insight was put on the slide way before the first half hour from today formed, well, if he wasn't calling that insight for today, he was calling a general insight, but it worked like a charm this morning. So the first half hour pointed lower, we get a lower reference bar, and there's your trade. Short-term trading off the reference bars. You will not find a better approach out there, in our opinion. Insight number 4. Here's your Genesis insight. With the Genesis insight, we can determine at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Remember, Genesis happens from 11:30 when the European markets close for that half hour leading up to 12 p.m. And like I mentioned earlier, we're looking for either a retracement or a continuation move. All right. And once again, the importance of where the bar is placed, the Genesis reference bar Y is placed, is around a very key time of day when a key market closes. And you'll find with the reference bars, they're typically placed at a time when a key market opens or a key market closes, or maybe they return from lunch. A key market returns from lunch. When trading starts to get active again, active for the first time of day or active again midday, that sort of thing. All right, or into a closing price. That's what you'll see with the reference bars. That's why they're placed where they're at. That's why they're so critical to our method, and that's why they work, frankly. The Genesis time frame market, mark, that should say mark. Let me redo the slide so it makes sense. The Genesis time frame marks the high or low of the day about 4 to 5 days. And if it marks the high or low, this is the insight Tom was giving us over the past couple of years. If it marks the high or low for the day, what we're going to see is a retracement, of course. If Genesis time frame, once we mark a low, we're likely to see a retracement, right? That's the definition of a low. So that's what we're looking for at 11:30, a possible retracement, a likely retracement, since we know that more times than not, Genesis can mark the high or low of the day. So you have to keep that in mind. Always plan the odds. What's the most likely scenario? All right. The most likely scenarios we find a top or a bottom there in Genesis. Doesn't mean we will, but it means that the odds from our study, from Tom's study, says that's the case. And if we don't see a retracement, we see a continuation day. And this is where you'll really see, some gains during the day, either gains to the upside or they're taking away those gains to the downside. But your biggest moves for, just, open to close, if you will, occur on continuation days where we don't see that top or bottom in the market. We see prices, we see either sellers step aside completely and prices continue to trend higher, or we see buyers step aside completely and we see price continue to trend lower. This is so critical to every single day of trading. It is Tom's number one insight. So please let us know if you have any questions on that in the chat. It's been a pretty quiet chat. We are open for questions if you have any questions on what we're showcasing today. And I see a question here about the roadmap software. I'll go live in a bit and answer any questions about the roadmap as well. And finally, let's see where are we at in the slides. Insight number 5 is RB4 sets the tone going into the night session. It's actually RB4 and RBZ, as we said on the slides. So you're using them in conjunction with each other. And some general advice, you can use the past 2 reference bars for better framing. And I showed you that on the roadmap compass chart with those pink lines. And I'll show you again right now. Actually, let's do that. So let me first delete the orange lines. And you can kind of see here, there's a pink reference bar frame. We call it the RB frame. What it's doing is marking of the prior 2 reference bars. I'll count them. 1, 2, prior 2 reference bars back. You get a high and a low from each of those reference bars, of course, like you do with every bar, but these are very important placed bar times. And of those 2 reference bars, it looks like the higher of the 2 highs is 68.86 half, and the lower of the 2 lows is 68.69 quarter. That's called framing with the RB frame, the past 2 reference bars. And you can use the RB frame around the clock. You can use it around the clock. In fact, if I go back in time here, this is how it looked prior to RB3. And we have a frame here that said if we can get below 68.80, odds are we get below 68.80, get below the frame. Odds are we would go and test some sort of low. Now, the first low you would go test would be the daily low, most likely, if we were not below it yet. Or it could have been the past reference bar low. All right. All right. Those are two key levels that at the time, this is all hindsight now, but at the time we had a frame of 89 high, 80 low, we'd be looking at the market to trend up or trend down below the frame. If I mark this low right here, once we got above the high, I marked a high, excuse me. Once we got above the high, we went right up to the high of the day, and they found resistance there. So this is what we look for all throughout the day, trading the reference bars and trading with the RB frame. Question in the chat is you left out RBZ on the slide. I don't think so. Let me go back to it, make sure. Yeah, there's our key reference bar times. RB1, 2, 3, 4, and XYZ. Make sure everything's there for you. Now the question in the chat is how do you get those bronze lines, those orange lines on the chart? At the top right of your roadmap chart, there's a couple icons up here. The left one, if you click on the left one, you'll get a series of technical analysis, items like simple moving average, exponential moving average, MACD, all those. The second button at the top left is for adding draw tools. If you click on that and you click on SNR lines for support and resistance, once you click on SNR line, click OK, you can just point and click anywhere on the chart and it will paint a nice horizontal line there for you. To get rid of those lines you draw, whether it be a moving average or any kind of study or a support and resistance line here, the fifth icon at the top of the charts, I just pointed to it. It looks like a circle with some red square, yellow circle, blue triangle in there. If you click on that, you can click on SNR line, the one you painted, and delete. Another question, the RB frame, which again, you can see the RB frame has shifted now because we just started Genesis. This white bar forming down here is the RBY bar. Again, we're looking for a retracement higher or continuation lower. Odds favor retracement higher, but that doesn't mean that will be the case today. But to get the RB frame on your charts by default, Dr. Bombay, click on Setup across the top of the chart or top of the roadmap. Go to Setup and then go to Charts. And at the very bottom section here, there's a checkable box for Auto Add RB Frame. Check that on, and then you can restart your roadmap when you get a chance. And that RB frame will be painted on all your charts. So once again, go to Setup, go to Charts. Check the box at the bottom for Auto Add RB Frame, and you do have to restart your roadmap for that to take place. Gotcha, Dave. Gotcha. Any questions on today's presentation? No, Brad, the MTI by DTI is a separate standalone indicator that we have over on Thinkorswim. We won't be adding reference bars over there. All right. Any questions on what we covered today? You got it, Sam. A great question from Stan. He says, I thought that Tom mentioned that the higher low can happen after Genesis. Well, it's important to note that there's no, okay, let me explain this. The market tends to find a top or bottom at the time of Genesis, but at the time of Genesis is not limited to just the 30-minute white reference bar. All right. Tends to find a top or the actual true low or true bottom of the day could happen 30 minutes prior to Genesis or could happen 30 minutes after Genesis. There's no exacts in trading. That's what makes trading difficult. But the insight of the market tends to find a top or bottom around that Genesis time frame is true, and it's the most important insight of the day. And we as traders, right? We as traders have to figure out, are we seeing the low or are we seeing the high? Well, one thing you can look for, we're still forming the Genesis bar right now, right? It's only 11:36 a.m. Eastern Time. We're only 6 minutes into this Genesis reference bar. We still have 24 minutes to go. Eventually, we'll have a high and low from the Genesis bar that forms. And typically what we will do is we'll look at the Genesis bar and the prior bar, so these two bars right here, and we'll say, okay, well, let's just make the assumption that the Genesis bar is formed. We know it's not, but if we make the assumption right now that the Genesis bar is formed, the first sign of a retracement would be going above not only the high of the reference bar, but above the high of the prior bar. So we're taking a pattern of lower lows and lower highs, and then we're reversing it. We want to see higher highs, higher lows. And the first indication of that is that prior day high being taken out to the upside. That prior day, or not prior day, the prior bar high, excuse me for misspeaking, 68.60 half is the prior high. So 68.61 would be a key number. Now, the reference bar is not formed yet, so we'll see what happens with the total reference bar. But if we can make our way higher in a retracement move, Tom always maps out three key levels. Reference bar 3 low, reference bar 3 midpoint, and reference bar 3 high. Those are that's where you're going to find potential resistance if we do make a retracement back up higher. Those numbers are an RB3 low of 68.69, RB3 midpoint of 68.77, and RB3 high of 68.86. There's your resistance. If we mark a low here, the low of the day, which is currently 68.48, if that ends up being the low and we retrace back higher, you're going to have potential resistance at 68.69, 68.77, and 68.86. So how you would use that? Well, if you were trading to the long side after Genesis, then you should take a little profits at those levels or right in front of those levels of resistance. That would be proper trading techniques. And once you take some profits off, then you can put your stop in place or move your stop up, I should say, to prevent you from losing on the last portion. Some good trading techniques there. But there's your resistance, 69, 77, 86. If we get above 86, where do we go next? We go to the high of the day, which is 93. And then if we're above the high of the day, then we're going to have to search further for more highs or lows from prior days. Or if we continue downward, that's a possibility. If we continue downward, we're already at the lows of the day. We'll have to search back in time to prior days for highs and lows, or even prior reference bar from prior days to figure out where support and resistance is. Or in that case, support, since it would be trending down. But you get the idea here. Hopefully today's session was a good one for you. Thanks, David. Thanks, Amos. Remember, Monday is a watch day. And it's Fed week. So if you're doing any trading today, it's going to be very, very short term, right? Very, very short term. And remember that Mondays are not typically trend days, right? It adds to the keep your trading short term. So all those are factoring in. One, it's Monday. Market doesn't usually try to trend on Mondays. All right. So right off the bat, you should think, all right, well, I'm not necessarily positioning myself for the week or for the month. I'm trading short term. And then you have the overlying Fed on Wednesday, which we would never recommend you position prior to a big news event like the Fed. So keep that all in mind on trading on Mondays. Great question from John. It says, why is the Y indicator above the 11 a.m. bar instead of 11:30? That's just kind of how the programming, the coding, if you will, functions until the bar is formed. I don't think there's a way around that. It's just no, there you go. I'd kind of like move my chart over and it reappears over the Y bar. Important to know is once the bar is actually formed, it'll stay put right above the reference bar. For some reason, a graphical kind of little glitch here on the charts. It shifts over for some reason. Just a graphical processing thing is my guess, John. Now, Claire brings up a very important point, Claire, and thanks for typing. She says that the open of December is at 68.54. It's amazing how that is acting as support. Now, I'm really glad you mentioned Claire's paying attention. She's studying the DTI method. We care about opens, and the month open you can see over here on the chart is at 68.54. All right, and that's where we're finding support today. You see it time and time again. It could be the month open, it could be the week open. At the beginning of the year, it'll be the year open. That's why they're on the metrics over there to the left. They are that important to our trading. And Claire, I mean, it puts a smile on my face that you even typed that into the chat, Claire. So thank you very much. Now, how to trade with those opens and other aspects of the DTI method is going to be all about the interactive home study course that Tom has been talking about. It launches on January 1st, 2026. Hard to believe it's going to be 2026 in less than a month. All right, but you can go to dtitrader.com/home or call us at 904-706-3532 if you want to join the interactive home study course. Tom, Chuck, and myself will be doing that all next year. Going to have special invites. Jeffrey Hirsch, I believe, is number one. Tom's mentioned a few others that he's planning. I think he's going to do like maybe one special invite a month is what he hopes to do. So it's going to be just incredible time next year. Looking forward to it. The interactive home study course. They have it priced out at $9.99. It's 1 year access. dtitwitter.com/home. Call us at 904-706-3532. And we do have a video to play. I'll play it in just a moment. Tom is real excited about it. You'll hear it in his voice as we listen to this video that I'll cue up here in just a few minutes. As a reminder, you can catch today's recording on the YouTube channel, dtitwitter.com/YouTube. That's dtitwitter.com/YouTube. Kept the link real nice and simple for you. Just dtitwitter.com followed by /YouTube. And make sure you head over there to the live tab. It's very clear on the YouTube channel. Just hit the live tab and you'll see today's recording and other past Train and Trade recordings. And give us a like and subscribe if you enjoy what we do here at DTI as well. Interactive Home Course Study. Give us a call at 904-706-3532 or go to dtitwitter.com/home. Let me cue up that video. We'll have a listen. And then we'll be back tomorrow for Train and Trade at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Before we get there, though, tonight, or excuse me, after the close, we're going to have the weekly trade letter. And then tonight at 7 p.m. will be Tom's Futures First Education.
Course. My promise is you will love to be part of this because we'll make it very exciting in 2026.